This is the little village of St. George, Ontario, Canada. This is the area in Canada where my dad's family lived for generations. So of course, if I'm coming to Canada, this is the place that was important for me to see. But for Allie, when she thinks of Canada, she thinks of something else entirely. So we're leaving St. George today and heading for a place that's sure to give us goosebumps. All right, we've driven for a couple hours to the other side of Toronto, to the small hamlet of Whitevale, just outside of Pickering, all to see just one thing. This small building right here, which was the novelty shop that sold the Halloween masks in the original Goosebumps TV special from October 27th, 1995. The Haunted Mask. And right at the beginning of the episode, which you can find on YouTube at the moment, by the way, you see Carly Beth and her friend walking up to the novelty shop. The shot is all tight in like this. And I see lots of historic architecture around here, and they make this look very old in the show. Look at the building now. It looks completely brand new, and up at the top it says Whitevale 1993. So I don't know if this was a modern building meant to look old, or if this was an old building that they maybe expanded in 1993, because notice, you never see this side of the building in the episode. But anyway, to refresh your memory, this is the novelty shop where shy girl Carly Beth, who's constantly getting picked on, comes to look for a creepy Halloween mask. It's Halloween time. She's kind of afraid of everything. There's a couple kids picking on her and jumping out at her at school. Even her own little brother's always jumping out at her. Her mom has made her a cute little duck costume for Halloween, but she wants something really spooky and really scary. And right in the window, right in these windows, as a matter of fact, she sees some scary Halloween masks. Anyway, she goes inside, she looks at the masks for sale, finds that they're not scary enough for her, keeps pushing her way back to the secret room inside the store, which, by the way, I think was clearly filmed in a different location. Doesn't look like enough room in there for a costume shop. Anyway, long story short, she finds a creepy mask, and the creepy mask maker, he doesn't want to sell her the creepy mask. He says, "I'm sorry, young lady, but these masks are not for sale. They're too frightening." Well, she won't take no for an answer. She pulls out some money, chucks it at the old man, and then runs out of the store with the mask. She runs out of the door right here, just like this, with the mask under her arm. But of course, this is a Canadian program, filmed in Canada with Canadian actors, and it's a horror movie for kids. So she goes, "What am I doing?" And she turns around like she's gonna take the mask back. But the guy is actually closing up the shop by then, putting a little close sign while he stares ominously at her. Anyway, the long story short is she gets the mask from inside the novelty shop, and it starts to change her personality, right? She's getting back at everyone. She's playing pranks on Chuck and Steve, the bullies that came after her. More about Chuck and Steve in a minute. She's running around the town, causing havoc, knocking over people's pumpkins, causing devastation. Some people suggest that the neighborhood from the show where she's running around during trick or treat might be around here, but you never know. Probably located more towards Toronto. Anyway, the thing is fused to her head. She can't get it off. It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone or an episode of Goosebumps. She tries to return it to this place, but the mask maker tells her that all those masks that were in the back became ugly. They were once beautiful, but nobody loved them. He put them on himself to try to hide his ugliness, but the ugliness infected the mask, and now all the masks are after Carly Beth. They start floating from inside the shop and chasing her around in some amazing, cheesy 1995 special effects. I think I was 12 when Goosebumps first came out with that Carly Beth episode, and I was definitely not scared even by 12. But by the time Allie was growing up, it was already a kid's Halloween classic. So you grew up watching this?
Yeah, I did. I watched it every fall, and I was so excited. I loved being scared.
Was it scary to you?
Oh yeah, I was always scared, but I loved it.
When you were so how old were you the first time you saw it? Probably, I mean, little.
Probably little, probably like 6, 5.
Because they showed it on like Nickelodeon or...
Yeah, they did.
They must have shown it on that. So what do you think, standing out here in front of the mask shop?
It's so cool. I'm so excited. It's like a dream.
Plus, you already have this mask.
I do, yeah. I wore it for Halloween, I think in like 2018.
Allie actually even has the mask because one year we were at Midsummer Scream and she turns the corner and she's like, "Oh my God," one of those classic Allie gasps, and there it was. The haunted mask.
I knew I had to have it. I'd never seen one before in person. I think I saw one online before, but when I saw it in person, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have it.
And you wear it all the time. Like every time we find it in the house or we're cleaning something, she whips out the haunted mask and puts it on and she goes, "Argh!" What does she say in the mask? I don't know.
Well, I like to put it on and like look in the mirror and be like, will it stick to my face?
I feel like the whole thing is so corny and so quotable, but standing here in the sun, it's very hot out here right now. I can't think of one like line from the movie, or well, it's a TV special really, and then became the kind of pilot episode of a TV series. But I can't think of one line except for when Carly Beth is trick-or-treating with her friend and she's like being scary to that lady on her porch, and then the porch lady, after she runs away, is like, you tell that sick little friend of yours I'm gonna call the police. I just always think of that. You take your sick little friend, because she's just such a cute little blonde girl. By the way, the whole episode, she's got her head on a stick, like her own head that her mom had made this weird sculpture. Was it a sculpture? It wasn't a mask.
Yeah, I think she had like made it in ceramics class or
yeah,
something.
like some sculpture of her daughter's face. So Carly Beth is carrying her own head around during the episode, like kind of as a totem, like she's beheaded herself or something, and she's becoming the mask. So she buries it in a graveyard, goes on her wild spree of torturing other kids and stealing Halloween candy, and then spoiler alert, in the end, it's her mom's like sculpture of her head made with a mother's love that saves her from becoming the mask. Aww. And I think the cemetery that what's the names of the bullies again?
Chuck and Steve.
Chuck and Steve. She keeps saying it like I'm dumb for forgetting. Every couple seconds, like, what are the bullies' names again? And she's like, Chuck and Steve, come on, Chuck and Steve. But the cemetery where she scares Chuck and Steve to death with her spooky mask, and then buries her own head, and then digs up her own head and saves herself from the mask, I think we just might be able to find that. So say goodbye to the old novelty store. And by the way, I have no idea what's in here now. It kind of looks like apartments. There's garages in the back, so I think there's actually residences behind here, but no sign. The ground floor appears to be empty. This whole town's undergoing some construction right here, out here in Whitevale today. The only thing open was this little shop down there. We had to ring the doorbell. The guy came downstairs and sold us some teapots and stuff. It was very bizarre. So we could use the washroom, as they say here in Canada. Anyway, goodbye to the store and baking in the hot parking lot over here. And we'll attempt to find the haunted mask graveyard. Real quick before I go though, just in case I didn't show this, in the episode, the windows are kind of iconic because of these curves at the top. And because of the little awning, they are hard to see, but they are still there. And this building doesn't look old at all. I don't know if it was like all refaced or if it was just never old. They just made it look old in the episode. But either way, there you go. The novelty store from the haunted mask. Goosebumps. Oh yeah, not far away at all. And this one was pretty darn easy. This is it. This is the cemetery from the haunted mask. See, all I did was just look at the map, cemeteries nearby, and I saw one, Cedar Grove. And then I noticed in the episode, the C and the R are blocked out on Cedar. So it just says Ida Grove? Like, what's Ida Grove? Cedar Grove. Googled it, and here we are. Chuck and Steve are standing outside of this. They're dressed like pirates for Halloween. They're doing a little sword fight right in front of the sign. And then Chuck goes, let's go in, come on. It's Halloween, come on, Steve. And they go into this cemetery. This is where Carly Beth gets the drop on them, Allie. This is where she finally gets her revenge on the two bullies that are always popping out and torturing her and scaring her. Now she gets a little torture with her haunted mask. That's crazy to me that they used a real cemetery. At first I thought they might not have, and then I was like, what's Etta Grove? Why would they call it that? And then Googling around on the map in preparation for coming here, I was like, there's a Cedar Grove right there. And they used this actual cemetery in the movie or the TV special or the series, whatever you want to call it. We're just roaming through the graveyard now, trying to line up some of these tombstones with the scenes from the film. Okay, Allie has figured it out. The giveaway was these two graves right here. We got a pointy one on the right and a little bit more of a dulled pointy one here. Then you have this big tree behind them, a couple of old graves just past Allie there. The camera's up high like a crane shot, kind of like this. Oh, and there's another angle just like this where she's furiously trying to dig up her head from just in front of that tree. I'm lining it up as close as I can from memory, and all the haunted masks are floating around her. That means she buried her own head right here. That's why I thought it might be a fake graveyard at first, just because I'm like, who digs or puts anything in the dirt in a graveyard, even for a movie? That seems a little weird. Maybe in this part of Canada, on the outskirts of Toronto, they have so many old graveyards, they just don't care what you do. All right, for reference, I placed Allie roughly on the spot where Carly Beth is digging. for her own head here to save herself from the haunted masks. Like I said, those cheesy 1995 special effects probably looked pretty real to us at the time. The weird thing is, I know it's unrelated, but look, it looks like there's been a little digging here recently. Ooh, spooky, Allie, spooky. It's hard to line up every shot because there are many new graves in this cemetery. Clearly an active graveyard still to this day. All right, this is it. I had to get down really low, but Chuck and Steve are messing around. Steve is creeping around and Chuck scares him with his pirate costume. Kind of right about here, very hard to line up. I think there must have been a fake tombstone Steve was hiding behind, although maybe there are old tombstones that are now lost to time. You have to kind of brighten up the screenshots, but you'll see this one right here. This Dennis died on this tombstone, and it kind of lines up with these tombstones and that obelisk. It's the only spot in the cemetery where these two tombstones are. Then there's a big tree here, and then here's our friends from where Carly Beth buries her head and then digs it back up again, just like this. In the background you can see the little old church, and then there's a modern Mennonite church also in the same parking lot, sharing sort of the same space. Every time we come to an old cemetery, Allie's like, oh, we should have brought flowers. Because we like coming and reading the old tombstones and looking at the old graves. You always want flowers?
Yeah.
You want to leave them out of respect in the memories. Well, they're a beautiful, like super ornate graves right here. Like absolutely gorgeous headstones, but you can see they begin to fade. It's hard to read or remember who is there. Sometimes they fall down and then get buried flat, and then eventually the grass will grow over them, you know, with a couple of mows or some bad rains. Graves are often lost that way, even historic graves, like from historical figures and stuff. All right, what do you think? We came to the Haunted Mask Cemetery.
I'm so excited. I never thought I would come here.
I know. Walking in the footsteps of Chuck and Steve and Carly Beth. Dang, it's crazy what a good match that is for the scene. You never would have expected them to use a real graveyard, especially considering like the kids are not just running around, they're digging, they're sword fighting, they're doing special effects out here with creepy haunted masks. Back in the 90s, they filmed a lot of stuff in Canada. So like the X-Files was all filmed in Canada, although on the west coast of Canada. But a lot of stuff was filmed out here, like the Adam Sandler movies, Goosebumps, of course. And I'm not just talking for Canadian shows or crossover shows. I'm talking about major US shows were either filmed in Canada or considered filming their show in Canada. And the prime example of that, someplace I always forget about, is our next stop. A place where a major American show filmed their pilot episode and then nothing else. All right, well, we've officially gone from the country to the suburbs to the thicker suburbs with a quick pit stop at the Golden Arches, which, by the way, in Canada, all have a little maple leaf on them where Allie got some McPizza bites. You don't get that back in California. And we've now come to what used to be a little town and is now just a neighborhood where, as you can see, there's some kind of little festival going on down here this weekend, or farmer's market or something. This is Unionville. Like I said, once its own village, now just sort of a neighborhood in Markham. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this was almost the site of one of the most popular TV shows of the late 90s, early 2000s, and then later on Netflix. One of Allie's personal favorite cozy time shows, Gilmore Girls. Now we all know Gilmore Girls was shot on the backlot at Warner Brothers. In fact, usually every year around Christmas time, they'll have a little thing where fans can come down there and visit Stars Hollow. But this little area right here, right outside of Toronto, Unionville, was originally supposed to be Stars Hollow. They almost filmed the show up here. And in fact, they did film the show up here, at least the pilot episode. Now, I would have never figured this out if it wasn't for a website, drinkingcoffeewatchingtv.com. But right here in front of the Unionville planing mill was the Stars Hollow sign for the pilot of the show. It is so easy to see why they would have picked Unionville if they were going to film it up here, because it does look just like a cute little New England town. You got a big old planing mill over here. There are cute little gazebos and small shops, little ponds and rivers. This place is absolutely adorable and does look just like a little New England village. Most of what they show of Unionville, luckily, is at the very beginning of the episode, all just right up here on Unionville's Main Street. And you can see Main Street's got all these historic homes, little historic businesses. But the most important thing of all is at the very beginning of the first episode, the pilot episode, they introduce us to Lorelai Gilmore walking in to the original Luke's Diner. They start with a big crane shot that's on the church that is conveniently blocked out by the tree from this angle. The church I just showed you, and they pan down, and then right over here where this new building is was another little Stars Hollow sign. And then the camera turns, we see Lorelai walking right past that building across the street and right into this, the original Luke's Diner. That window right there said good. That window all the way on the right said food. And then up above the doorway, instead of saying Bell Beauty Med Spa, it has the beautiful sign Williams Hardware, as seen at the very end of the original pilot episode. Dude, this was the original Luke's Diner. When they moved it to the Warner Brothers backlot, they put that Williams Hardware sign over a different store, which is actually on a corner at a weird angle. Kind of did a little work on the building to make the doorway here in the center similar to what is out here in Unionville. And Luke's is obviously the most iconic spot that people visit when they visit the Warner Brothers backlot on those tours. But this is the original. It all started right here in Canada. All right, I don't want to get dinged for copyright here and show you the whole opening of that show, but if you go back to episode 1 and watch from the very beginning of the episode, like I said, you have the crane shot down from the church steeple behind that tree over to this corner here. There was a different building here at that time. Then Lorelai walks across the street right here. It's all one long shot. How they did it with the crane, I have no idea. But she walks around like this. We see that iconic Luke's Diner sign coming out from the building, hanging right about there. And she goes through this doorway and into Luke's. Dude, how sick is that? No coffee available at this location at the moment. Unless you want the best skin of your life, there's really no excuse for going inside of there. And at the moment, perhaps because of the street festival down there, and there's some construction too that's closing off some of Main Street here in Unionville, they appear to be closed, although I must also mention that it is, in fact, Saturday, but we made it. Freaking Luke's Diner. The Williams Hardware sign would have been right there. No wonder they would have had Luke living above Luke's Diner, because look at that big space up there, just big enough for one small apartment. You can tell why the show was written the way that it was. That's it. Right there. Just imagine Williams Hardware above the door. By the way, this little post was in that shot with some flower pots. That's why at the end of the episode, the angle, like the then and now angle that I'm taking from over the road, is shot way, way to the side to get that post out of the way of the center of the door. It just seems so strange. It's supposed to be set in Stars Hollow, Connecticut, but of course they filmed it on the Warner Brothers backlot. The center of Stars Hollow in the show is the same sort of town square backlot set they use in The Music Man and so many other Warner Brothers productions. For people who are into TV and movie locations and their real life counterparts, or just nerdy about locations in general, it's sort of one of those well-known fun things that is all filmed around the Warner Brothers backlot, and everything in the show is recognizable. And so to be out here in Canada, kind of lined up with where Lorelai goes around this pole and see that the famous weird little Luke's coffee cup sign used to hang right here in a completely different country. It's pretty wild. Like, it hurts my head. Look at this. Allie's got a fun pic of herself and her friend at the Warner Brothers backlot with the Williams Hardware sign set up over what became Luke. See how skinny it is there on the corner? Side by side, you can see just how different the two locations actually are, but when you're watching the show, it's more or less seamless. And because the first episode of the Gilmore Girls aired in the year 2000, I always thought they shot the pilot maybe in 99 or 98, just because so many shows were filmed in Canada in the 90s. Sitting here on the stoop of Luke's Diner and looking it up, it seems as if the pilot was filmed in March 2000, just like 6 months before the episode first aired. Standing out here now, it seems pretty obvious why Warner Brothers, after picking up the pilot, would want to move the show to their backlot. I mean, think about it. That way you could build Stars Hollow and dress it up and have all your American flags and all your signage and all that stuff, and not have to tear it all down and put it all back up between seasons. You wouldn't have to close off this whole town's little main street. It might have been cheaper to come and film a pilot up here for a couple of weeks. Since the town itself is such a character in the show, it only makes sense they'd want to film it on a backlot where they could control, you know, traffic and background noise and not get complaints from the neighbors. Dude, I'll tell you what, it is busy down here, and I don't think the festival is the whole reason this cute little Main Street looks pretty well trafficked. There's a couple of little ice cream shops, bougie little stores, massage places, skincare. It is quite the chic, happening little street down here, I'll tell you that much. All right, I gotta take some fun pics of Allie right now over here by the original Luke's. Dude, how sick is this?
Yeah, this is so cool. I'm so glad we got to come here.
This would be a cute place in its own right. I mean, that's why they picked it. But even more awesome, knowing this is the original Stars Hollow right here. And I don't know if you remember, but in the beginning, the first episode, Lorelai walks through this door. Luke's counter is running along the left just inside of here. And then there's a guy hitting on her. And then later, when her daughter Rory comes in, the guy is hitting on Rory. And she says, oh, now you're hitting on my daughter. He goes, you don't look like a mother. And you don't look like a daughter. Something like that. I admit, it's been a while since I've watched that first episode. They're sitting in this window right here. And actually, the camera is looking out the window over Rory and Lorelai's shoulder towards this building right here. I don't know what it is now. It looks like some sort of beauty shop. But you can actually see that building. It's painted white in the original pilot episode. But it is still standing here just like it was back in 2000 when they filmed the pilot. Dude, that is crazy. Now I want some coffee so bad. I really wish that this was a diner and coffee shop today. Anyway, Allie is very hot. That's why she's not saying very much. Very warm day in Canada, believe it or not, for those of you who've never been here. And unfortunately, Luke's Diner is not open for us to get any coffee or any ice cream, but right across the street, there are two different ice cream places, and I think this one right here, Cloud 21 Wellness Foot and Body Massage, and whatever else, has got some coffee. And we're gonna order coffee in there. Then I noticed how weird the ice cream is. Like very, very weird. And then I noticed that they do foot massages, but also sell eggs and cheese and pasta and ice cream and coffee. And I just kind of got turned off a little bit. I don't know why. Just the idea of foot flavored coffee or something. Clearly it's a popular place though. Don't let my don't let my weirdness influence you. I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying weird combination and my brain just glitched. So just a little ways down past Luke's, actually kind of across the street from the church. Look at this. They got this little gelato place right here. Flavors of Unionville. They got some smoothies and look, iced coffee. And where there's iced coffee, there might be some warm coffee as well. Yeah, look at that. Look at those Canadian flags right there. There's an American flag flying on this street for the episode of Gilmore Girls. That would not go over well at the moment. Canada is all fired up with Canadian pride due to recent events that are in the news that need no comment from me or you. But the weird upshot of all that is they've become weirdly more patriotic than I've ever seen. Every day is Canada Day on this trip. They're very proud to be Canadian. And we're gonna grab ourselves some stuff right here. Dude, this is a very popular place, and I don't just mean the ice cream place. I mean Unionville of a Saturday. It is busy out here. Okay, Allie's grabbing her ice cream. We're gonna grab the coffee as well. We also peeked into some other Canadian filming locations, but they tie in with our next adventure, and I think you're gonna like it, especially if you grew up in the 80s or 90s and had a mother. I think you'll really like our next adventure. But this one is not over yet. Luke's is not our last stop because there's something else in Canada you can no longer find in the United States. I am very, very excited to take you to. Now, all that's left to do is head out. Just one last look at Williams Hardware and the original Luke's Diner right there in Stars Hollow, Canada. Who would have thought, eh? Who would have thought? Okay, and now we've come around the corner to the nearby mall, to our final destination, the one that excites me the most, because this mall has a Toys R Us. Unlike in the United States of America, where shady business dealings drove Toys R Us out of business, here in Canada, Toys R Us never closed. The other day, Allie and I went inside of a standalone store. I'm hoping the mall store isn't too much different. And no, sadly, it was nothing like going into an 80s Toys R Us with He-Man and G.I. Joe everywhere, but still, it's a freaking Toys R Us. And if there's one thing that has never changed, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. So let's see if there's still a million things at Toys R Us that I can play with. Okay, we're going in. Please be open, Toys R Us. They have been shutting down stores here in Canada as well. Although for the most part, they're still open. I don't know why they closed here. Boy, this is a busy mall. I'm used to all the malls in the States, especially Southern California, going dead, getting turned into condos. Look at this place. This place is happening. It's like Starcourt in here, Allie. Just waiting for the Mind Flayer. Oh no, we found a mall sign that says it's open. It's on the second level, but it closes at 6 p.m. It is 5:57. Let's see if we can make it. Ah, I can see it. It's over there. I don't think we're gonna make it. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that. There used to be a Toys R Us in the Puente Hills Mall. Oh look, this store closing. Everything must go All right, we're not gonna make it. We are not gonna make it. Okay, I take it back, we made it. But this store ain't gonna make it. Oh no. It's like reliving Toys R Us closing all over again. Look at this. I wonder if they're selling any signs or fixtures. That would be cool to have. They're closing several stores. They're consolidating all across Canada. So if any of you live in Canada and you can snag like a Toys R Us sign from the shelves or a Toys R Us basket and you want to send it my way, I'd be happy to reimburse you. Look for the email link on my Instagram. That goes to Allie and she'll be able to be in touch. Look at this though. We are technically inside of Toys R Us. Just like the standalone store we saw the other day, there's a ton of DVDs and CDs. It's almost like Toys R Us, the store stayed around, but they didn't have enough toys to keep it full of toys. The one we went to the other day had a playground in it. What the heck? $47.99. Oh, it's Canadian, but still $47.99 for Rose. And that's on clearance. So you see all the NECA stuff here and the Wednesday stuff. Bride of Frankenstein. A couple of Ninja Turtles, couple of wrestling figures, mostly adult collectibles and action figures. It's like Walmart has got Toys R Us beat even here in Canada. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about its fate. Not this store. This store is clearly doomed. I mean, I'm worried about Toys R Us's fate in general. Look at this display for sale right there. They're selling all the fixtures. Oh no, guys, it's all happening again. You know what else I saw across the street? Party City. Well, I can confirm that over in Kitchener, we went to Toys R Us the other day. We were driving through Hamilton. We saw there's a Toys R Us location over there. I think there's one in Scarborough. So there are still several more locations. The mall location is clearly doomed. But Toys R Us is alive and well in Canada. And we did go to one, even though we probably won't have time to squeeze one into another video. Oh. Uh-oh.
Once again, the store is now closed. We kindly ask you to bring any final purchases to the front of the store, please. Want to take a floor check?
That's it. I was just about to say this adventure for today has been long enough as it is. I'm about a week and a half behind in editing these adventures. We actually had to extend our trip because I got caught up with my aunt and excited about seeing family history stuff. And our next location, our final location, was only open on Sundays. And so we had to extend several days just to be able to get inside. But it is a doozy. To me, the ultimate place to visit in Canada. I cannot wait for tomorrow, and I cannot wait to see you guys next time. For the moment, I want to thank you for watching this. I want to really thank you for sharing this with a friend you would think would like it, particularly if you have any Canadian friends. But for now, we've done our duty. From the land of my forefathers, you can go home and
Sleep well.
boo-boo. They've invaded Canada too. Heaven help us.